Yes, people, welcome back to another video on Thai Sports, where today we are talking about Sir Philip Foden, 25 years of age, coming into his prime, and I'm telling you now, he is looking like he's back. Phil Foden might just be back because the form he's coming into right now with Jeremy Doku, Manchester City are looking good. And Phil Foden, you have needed it. Look, guys, make sure you like and subscribe on this video because Phil Foden's been one of these players, guys, that people have spoke about for a long time now. Is he the next generation? Is he generational, this and that? And it hasn't quite lived up to the billing of being generational. But one thing that Phil Foden has done is caused a stir because he's had some brilliant performances, some great seasons, and he's had some dull times. But what we have to look at is now the comeback, because right now this guy is in the form of his life in the last 2 years, and you have to say that it's so good to see. As a football fan, you want to see the best players showcasing their best talents, and Phil Foden is doing this right now, and you have to say he's undroppable for Manchester City. There's a reason he played in the Carabao Cup the other night, just to lick one in from the outside the box. Him and Doku right now behind Haaland, that is that front three. That is set. You can't see anyone dislodging them right now in the form they are in. But Phil Foden has to stand up because the truth is, look, I don't know the guy personally, of course, but I know people that are quite close to him. And they have said that, over the last 12 to 18 months, he has struggled with some mental issues. And I don't take them things, as a joke. Them things are really serious, despite their footballers, despite them being on a lot of money and having a luxury lifestyle that a lot of people could only dream about. It doesn't mean that all players are always happy. There are still real humans. They still have real life things going on. They have a family. They have friends. They might be in situations that we just don't know about in the media or as fans. And at the end of the day, if that's going to affect your performance, then I understand it, because you can't go on there being the best version of yourself if your mind's elsewhere and you're thinking about a lot of other things. And I think we could see that in Phil Foden last season. He definitely did struggle. As we know, 7 goals, 2 assists last season in 28 games. But it was only the year before that, 19 goals and 8 assists, 27 returns in the league in the 23-24 season. So the drop-off was huge. And it was something we're not really accustomed to seeing from Phil Foden, because the way his trajectory of life was going was only on the way up. 9 goals, 5 assists, then 11 goals, 5 assists, then 19 and 8. And you're thinking, okay, this guy is really coming to the Premier League now to be the force, to be the guy that's going to take over as maybe, the hire of De Bruyne and the player of the seasons and stuff like that. But unfortunately, last year didn't quite work out for him. But there are excuses, and I think there are real ones. And now he looks like he's reset, he's re-energized, he looks clear, and he is performing. Phil Foden is performing. And I think now that, I'm not saying other teams should be worried. I think you should always be worried about Phil Foden. But now I think when you look at Manchester City and Haaland scoring goals, Doku coming into form and growing in that City shirt, and Phil Foden now coming back after De Bruyne has left and now showing the form that people wanted to see, it does feel slightly like a bit of a new player. It does feel slightly like a bit of a new signing, because Manchester City have been going through a rebuild the last 12 to 18 months. We've seen a lot of players come in, Gvardiol, Reinders, Nico Gonzalez, Oscar Bob coming up through the ranks, Mamouche arriving, Savino even coming in through the door, Nico O'Reilly getting promoted. There are players that are coming through. Donnarumma landing now. Manchester City, like I said, are going through that evolution of change. And some players are gonna be through that, and some players won't survive that. But Phil Foden coming through that Manchester City academy, he definitely will survive. And he's a player now that the fans, the manager, and the board are going to turn to and say, right, Phil Foden, you're going to be one of these players that help get Manchester City back to the top. And I think he'll relish that challenge. I feel like Foden's that type of player that doesn't want to get things handed into him. He wants to be able to prove people wrong. He wants to prove and show to the world that he is a top player. And the way he started this season, yes, it's early days, but if Phil Foden does carry it on, I think he could be in for a very good season. And that's across all competitions. I think in the league, he'll be looking to get minimum 10 goals. I think he'll like 20 goal returns in the whole season, which would be 10 goals, 10 assists. I think that's fair for someone of the caliber of Phil Foden, 100%, when we've seen him get 19 and 8 the year before last. So I think 20 goal contributions is definitely possible for Phil Foden if he stays in that starting 11 and keeps playing the way he has. Because I've really liked what I've seen from Phil Foden so far. I think the way Pep has adapted Phil and Jeremy Doku is really working. And it's like now They're not touchline wingers. What he's now doing at Manchester City, and you can see it against Manchester United, where they were very good, Phil Foden and Doku. You can see it against Arsenal as well, is that he's playing them more inverted. They're being able to drop bit deep, build up, start with the build up a play, drop deep, hit on them on a half turn, and run at teams, drive with the ball. And I think Doku and Foden are really confusing teams right now. And I think it's really exciting. I'm a Man United fan, but I really looked at it and I thought, yes, City weren't great. I think they were beatable that day. But when you look at individuals that stood out, Doku was a character. He was getting all around the pitch, floating from left to right, centrally, picking up the ball, twisting, turning, got the assist for the Foden goal, actually. So they've worked together on that. And then you got Phil Foden scoring in the Carabao Cup in midweek, also looking bright, scoring against Manchester City and Manchester United in the derby. And, now you're starting to see a bit of rhythm. Manchester City not changing their team. Pep finding the recipe that he's like, right, this is what I want to go with. And this is what I believe is going to go and win games. And now they play Burnley on the weekend. And it wouldn't surprise me if Doku or Phil Foden score, because Erling Haaland's in form. We all know he starts the season great. This is actually, for Erling Haaland, how good he's been statistically in terms of goals. This is his slowest start to seasons at Manchester City. And he's scoring goals like this already. So Erling Haaland is flying, but to the stats, he might not be flying, but he is flying. And then you've got Doku and Foden in behind you now. And I just think, look, it's exciting for England as well, because you've got an England team that are going to the World Cup next year with expectations on getting far into the competition at 2018, getting to the semi-finals, 20 effectively like the 2022 World Cup, getting to the semi-finals, I believe, again, or quarters against France. And then obviously getting to 2 Euros finals back to back. So when you look at it, like England now, you're thinking, right, can they kick on? Harry Kane's last chance, Declan Rice in there, Bellingham. Can Phil Foden now get himself back into that England fold? Because a fit and healthy and firing Phil Foden does start for England. Like, we have to be honest here. I know there's a lot of players that you can mix and match with, but I'm sorry, Phil Foden does start for England. And I think now this is the perfect time to him to get back to his form, to have a breakout again, to show Manchester City fans and the world of football that he is back at the top level. And I think it's exciting because personally, how I see it is I think this might be just the start of the rebirth of Phil Foden. We're only five games into the league. The Champions League's not gotten to the deep stages yet. The league's not even got to Christmas yet, where it gets nitty gritty and, it's got to really count and the pressure's on. And I think Phil Foden now might be building up his confidence that when the pressure comes, he is ready. But I've been really impressed by the comeback of him, because I didn't know how it was going to go for him this season. I was kind of unsure. I was kind of thinking, he's going to get games, but is he going to be able to get starts all the time? Oscar, Bob, Doku, Marmoush, obviously, unfortunately, with injury, Savinho, Reinders can play there. Bernardo Silva can play a bit forward. There is like some competition for places, and you want that. It's healthy at the best clubs in the world. But Phil Foden right now is undroppable. Him and Doku are firing. They're playing so well together. Erling Haaland is thriving off it, and you've got Tijani Reinders just feeding the energy and being the engine room in midfield with Rodri alongside him. So it's very exciting, this new sort of front six that City are going with at the moment at the start of the season, and it's working. So it's very exciting for Phil Foden. Let's see what he can do in terms of, can he rediscover that form that he did 2 seasons ago when he was really starting to stand up and, being contentions for Player of the Year awards and stuff like that? Because we know the talent is there, but can he now get the consistency? Right now, he is being consistent. He is fighting for Manchester City, and he needs to get them competing for the major trophies this season. Guys, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. On my way to 5K. It's good to talk on all clubs. I talk on all big 6 clubs. So if you are here, I hope you enjoy the journey as well. And enjoy the Premier League football this weekend. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you soon.